Hey guys, it's Hannah, and today I am filming a very exciting video and a highly requested video, and that is my bookshelf tour. So ever since starting my channel, I have gotten questions here and there asking me to do a bookshelf tour, and every single time I would reply saying that I might do one at the beginning of the year because I'm not really satisfied with the way that my shelves look right now. But I am finally pretty satisfied with the way that I've arranged my shelves, and since many of you have asked me to do this, I decided that since it is finally the beginning of the year, I'm going to film it. My bookshelves change on a regular basis. I'm never fully satisfied with the way that they look, so I will move things around all the time. So the next time you guys see my shelves, they probably won't look anything like this because I haven't fully found a system that I'm really happy with. So I don't have a very defined system as to how I organize my shelves. I just kind of do it by the way that I like it. So I actually have 4 bookshelves. I have the one that you guys always see right behind me in my videos, and then I have one that's parallel to it on the other side that houses all of my series. And then I have one that is on this side of me that's just built into my wall, and then I have another one that just lays horizontally on the ground. So I'm kind of surrounded by bookshelves in my room. But without any further ado, because this is already going to be a very, very long video, let's get into my 2016 bookshelf tour. So before I go into each individual book, I'm just going to give you guys kind of like a panned overview of all of my shelves. So this is the first shelf that's just built into my wall. And then when you move this way, that's the shelf that you guys always see in the backdrop of my videos. And then there's me. And then there is this other shelf, which is the one that is parallel to the one that you guys always see with my desk in between the two of them. And then my final shelf, which is just lying horizontally next to my bed, that just houses the rest of my books. So I'm going to be starting with this shelf and working my way counterclockwise through my shelves. So right up here, as you guys can see, is my Harry Potter shelf. This is where I put all of my Harry Potter books, aside from my paperback books, which I have on a separate shelf. But I have all of my Harry Potter books, the hardcover books here, plus just all of my Harry Potter-ish items sit on this shelf, and it's kind of like my shrine to Harry Potter. So the first book, as you can see on this shelf, is the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And then there's the regular Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So on this next shelf here, I have my classic books, but there are classics that are part of certain collections or special editions. First, I have Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and Mansfield Park, all by Jane Austen. And then underneath all those, I have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And back there, you can see that I have some other books that are just kind of stacked behind these, and that's because I don't really have enough room to put all of my books in my bookshelves, and those are just kind of my old beat-up copies of things. So I'll just show them to you really quickly. I have Tyke by Holly Black, this super old beat-up copy of Candide by Voltaire, The Host by Stephanie Meyer, The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and a second super beat-up copy of Wuthering Heights. Next, I have The Sun Also Rises, A Farewell to Arms, and For Whom the Bell Tolls, all by Ernest Hemingway, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. So those are all the books that are on my built-in shelf here in my wall, and now I'm going to move on to this shelf, which is the one that you guys regularly see in all of my videos. So I'm first going to do just a general overview of the entire shelf so you guys can see each of the individual shelves. And this shelf is organized by color, as you could tell, so there's no real like rhyme or reason to this one. It's just kind of how I liked it and what was most aesthetically pleasing to my eye. So this is my very top shelf on this bookshelf, and it is my greens to blues. Starting from the greens, we have The Great Cases of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, my paperback copy of City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, Uprooted by Naomi Novik, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, A Teaspoon of Earth and Sea by Dina Nayeri, Delirium by Lauren Oliver, my paperback copy of City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, The Enchanted by Renee Denfield, The Fortune Hunter by Daisy Goodwin, Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Elliot Sands, The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, and The Grace Keepers by Christy Logan. So starting with this next shelf, this is probably my favorite shelf of all of my shelves in my room, and I have my white books on this shelf transitioning into not really my black books, but just The Night Circus, which I have displayed because it is my all-time favorite book and I absolutely love the cover. So starting with the first book on this shelf, we have The Swan Gondola by Timothy Shaffert, Starry Night by Isabel Gillies, A Constellation of Vital Phenomena by Anthony Mara, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. And then right here I have this melting library candle that is Night Circus scented that my friend got me for my birthday, and I love it so much. I have 2 other ones in my room. And then, of course, displayed in the center is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And then moving on to this next shelf, this is my reds to orange to yellow to a little bit of brown shelf. Starting with the very first red book, we have Night Film by Marisha Pessel, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler, You by Caroline Kepnes, Paper Towns by John Green, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, Golden Boy by Abigail Tartland, In Perfect Light by Benjamin Elliot Sands, my paperback copy of City of Glass by Cassandra Clare, Vicious by V.E. Schwab, The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, and The Crane Wife by Patrick Ness. And finally, moving on down to the very last shelf on this bookshelf, at least the very last one that has any books on it. This shelf is kind of the most random of them all. It's not very well sorted by color, but you know what? It's okay, because this is the best that I could do. So starting with the very first book on this shelf, I have S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Opry, Alias Hook by Lisa Jensen, Skipping Christmas by John Grisham, Dubliners by James Joyce, Anya's Ghost by Vera Borskul, Atonement by Ian McEwan, and I'm missing a book right there right now because I am currently reading it. Coraline by Neil Gaiman, Looking for Alaska by John Green, and Boy Snowbird by Helen Oyemi. So what I forgot to mention with this shelf is that it is essentially just my standalone shelf. I have a couple of books that are from series on here, but that's just to help complete my rainbow. Aside from that, most of these are standalone books. And then in between here, I just have my desk, which has some of my makeup in that corner, and then in this corner I have a TARDIS mug and the little hedgehog that sits right by it, and in the mug I just have like my pens and pencils and then also all of my bookmarks. And then over here is my series shelf. So this parallel shelf just holds pretty much all of the series that I own. So for this top shelf, I'm sorry, I'm at a really weird angle. I have to put my camera, my tripod on my chair, and the chair doesn't really get into this corner, so sorry for the kind of wonky angle, but we're just gonna go with it. So starting on the right-hand side, we have my paperback Harry Potter books, and the third one isn't there because I am currently reading it. But I'm not going to go through and show you guys all of those again because I already showed you all of them over there and I'm pretty sure you know them all by now anyway. And then right next to that I have my Lord of the Rings books with my little Tauriel Funko Pop right next to it, which is like my favorite thing in the world. I'm also not going to go through all of those and pull them out just because they're kind of tightly packed in there and I don't really want to go and pull all of them out. But also sitting on there is my Even Star necklace because I am a Lord of the Rings nerd and I love all things elvish. But right next to the Lord of the Rings I have the Percy Jackson series consisting of The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. And right next to the Percy Jackson series I have the Hunger Games trilogy, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, all by Suzanne Collins. Moving on to the second shelf on my series shelf, I have the Throne of Glass series, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, and Queen of Shadows, all by Sarah J. Maas. And then after that, I have the whole Seven Realms series, The Demon King, The Exiled Queen, The Grey Wolf Throne, and The Crimson Crown, all by Cinda Williams Chima. Then I have the Mistborn trilogy, starting with the first book, The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages, all by Brandon Sanderson. And finally, on this shelf, I have all of the current Saga volumes, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, and Volume 5, all by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. So moving right on down, we have another one of my very favorite shelves, and it is the Shadowhunters shelf. This shelf essentially just houses all of my Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices books. I have my paperback of the very first 3 Mortal Instruments books, as you saw, on my standalone shelf, but then I have my hardcover matching set on this shelf. Starting with the Infernal Devices, I have Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. And then onto the Mortal Instruments series, I have City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire, all by Cassandra Clare. Also on this shelf, I have my Morgenstern ring, which is in that little box, and also my Isabel Lightwood pendant. So moving right on down to the second to last bookshelf on this shelf, which is the last shelf that holds any of my series. I have the Twilight Saga by Stephanie Meyer, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, and the novella The Short Second Life of Brue Tanner. Honestly, I don't really know why I still have the Twilight series on my shelf. I just, for some reason, can't seem to get myself to get rid of it. So these next books that are all stacked on top of each other are all series that I am missing the 3rd book from. So the Graceling series, I don't have Bitter Blue. The Cuckoo's Calling series, I don't have Career of Evil. And from the Across the Universe series, I don't have the 3rd book either. So I just put them all here together. So of these series, I have Graceling and Fire, both by Kristen Kishore. The Cuckoo's Calling and The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith or J.K. Rowling, Across the Universe, and A Million Suns, both by Beth Revis. And then after that I have the Uglies series by Scott Westerfeld, Uglies, Pretties, Specials, and Extras. And finally, moving on to the very last shelf, I am literally on the floor. I have just some of my childhood books, and then you can see on this side I just have like school notebooks and binders and things. So what usually actually sits right over here are my school yearbooks, but I just took those off because I didn't want to put my school name on the internet, so that's actually what my camera is currently sitting on. But next to that, I have my high school diploma. I have the Arthur Spiderwick's Field Guide to the Fantastical World Around You, which was my guide to life when I was a kid. Oh, the Thinks You Can Think by Dr. Seuss. Meet Samantha, which was an American Girl doll book that I was obsessed with because I was obsessed with American Girl dolls when I was like 7. The Spiderwick Guide to the Care and Feeding of Sprites. The very first book in the Spiderwick Chronicles. If you couldn't tell, I was obsessed with the Spiderwick Chronicles as a kid. The Last of the Really Great Wangdoodles by Julie Andrews Edwards. And this absolutely beautiful pop-up edition of The Little Prince. So that is everything that is on my series shelf. And then just in this corner right here, I have this box of the Harry Potter books. That's what the Harry Potter books came in. And then on top of that, I just have books that I'm borrowing from friends. And then over here, moving right along to my very last shelf, the final shelf. And on top of here, I'll just point these books out first. I have the books that I'm currently reading. So right now I am currently reading A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and Shadow of the Wind, which I am borrowing from a friend. And this is another one of those Night Circus candles that I was telling you guys about. I always keep that there too. But now I'm just going to move on to the very last shelf that I have. So in this very first little cube, I just keep some of my journals. That's pretty much what all of these are. The only thing that's in here that's not a journal is the Lost Ocean coloring book that I have, which I just keep here right by my bedside. And then I have this Midsummer Night's Dream journal. It's not actually a copy of the book, it is just a journal. And then this is a reading journal that I have that you can just fill out the books that you have recently read or some of your favorite authors and things, and I just keep that by my bed as well. And finally, I just have this H journal, which I just use to write lists and make lists for everything. Oh, and then I have the third and final of my Night Circus candles that just sits on this shelf as well. So right next door on this shelf, I have all of my books that I have that are the first book in a series that I don't own the next books in the series, or the next books haven't come out yet. I just wanted to keep these all in one place, and I didn't really have room for them on my series shelf. And I know I am missing The Wrath and the Dawn on this shelf, but for now that's just going to be in place with my rainbow bookshelf. So on this shelf I have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, The Diviners by Libba Bray, Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and finally The Iron Trial by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. So in this next little shelf I keep all of my poetry and all of my plays. So first I have on this shelf the complete plays of William Shakespeare, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, and Sonnets and Poems by William Shakespeare. Next I have Love and Misadventure and Lullabies, both by Longlev. Ariel by Sylvia Plath, Fuddy Mears by David Lindsay-Abaire, the three Theban plays, Antigone, Oedipus the King, and Oedipus at Colonos, all by Sophocles. Forget-Me-Not Lane by Peter Nicholas, The Flu Season by Will Eno. And this isn't technically a play or poetry, it's just kind of a comedy book, and I didn't really have anywhere else to put it, so I just put it on this shelf, but it is Nightlight by the Harvard Lampoon. Still Life with Iris by Stephen Dietz. And finally, You Can't Take It With You by Moss Hart and George S. Kaufman. And finally, we have made it to the very, very last shelf. So this shelf is a bit more random. It holds kind of like a weird combination of my books. I have all of my books that I've received from subscription bags or boxes on this shelf, and then I also have all the books that I have received from authors for review or any ARCs that I've received. And then after that, I have all of my feminism books, and then one self-help book, and then just a couple of short essay books that were for school. So yeah, it's kind of a random mess of things, but you know what? It works for me, so this is what I got. Starting with the first book, we have First and Then by Emma Mills, The One Thing by Marcy Lynn Curtis, Nexus by A.L. Davro, The House by Christina Lauren, The August 5 by Jenna Helland, Born of Shadow by Sarah Benson, Torture Man by Warren Adler, Champions at Fire's End by Charlotte Jane, Feminism is for Everybody by Bell Hooks, Girls' Studies by Ellen Lipkin, The Color of Violence, an Insight Anthology, Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay, I'm Down by Mishna Wolf, the only book I own that doesn't have a dust jacket, but it is Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, A Modest Proposal and Other Satirical Works by Jonathan Swift, and finally Walking by Henry David Thoreau. So there you go, guys. That is it for my bookshelf tour. I just went through every single shelf and every single book that I own. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope it was at least somewhat enjoyable for you. I know that it was actually kind of beneficial for me because now I have documentation of every single book that I own, so it was a good thing that I made this because now I can keep track of them all. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. I just buy too many books and then they sit on my shelf for a long time and then I just don't touch them for sometimes years.